Hey gang, what's happening? Welcome, and this is episode 162 of Byte That's weekly wrestling podcast. Thank you for your weekly support. You head on over here, not on Tuesdays, we do Wednesdays because we cover the world of Raw, SmackDown, we got the pay-per-views, we got wrestling news, we got injuries, we're going to cover them, or at least try to. So we do that on a weekly basis aside from a bunch of other stuff that we do on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/ByteThatCast. You can enjoy the podcast on a variety of different podcast platforms. My name is Juan Velas. I'm back. I was in California, but now I'm here in the shining star of the Caribbean again. I'm a little bit sad, I'm gonna lie.
Yay!
Yeah, I'm here. It feels like ages ago. So we got Keith, we got Ryan, and like, what do I do?
Thank you for coming back.
Yes. Oh God. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. I can only do hosting duty for so long, you know, and one episode is long enough.
Then you realize the pressure that it is handling Keith
dude.
for
it
a
is
whole
tough.
hour plus.
It is tough.
It is tough.
You are the unsung hero
tough,
of
though?
this show, sir.
Thank you, though. Thank you. You know what's tough? I had some delicious Mexican burritos in a Lucha Libre themed restaurant in San Diego, and I'm far away from that. If I want that experience again, I can't have it. And that really sucks because it was so good.
Did the burritos have fancy names, or was it just a burrito?
I had the nutty burrito, which reminded me of Ryan. But there were their SmackDown quesadillas. So
all right, I can get behind that. I can get behind that.
And just a quick spoiler, there may be a video going up on the weekend or up now for Patreon supporters. You pledge, you get early access to a bunch of stuff. That's not the only thing you're getting early access this week. But what are we here to talk about?
Well, quick thing, because I have to ask you about those quesadillas.
Yeah,
clearly
go for it.
The SmackDown quesadillas would be better than Raw ones, right?
Yeah, but the problem is that they're shorter. They're shorter. Like the Raw ones are like packed with too much cheese, but then you got to go to the bathroom and you won't leave the damn thing for like 3 hours.
And I mean, like, it's raw, so it could kill you. Like, if you get the chicken ones, you'll get salmonella.
I get it. I tried to go along with it by being more elaborate, but it didn't come across, I guess.
I wasn't sure if you got it.
I got it, Ron. No. Let's get to wrestling talk, even though we were kind of just talking about wrestling here. But it's been an interesting week. Ryan, you published a Clash of Champions review where you talked about the show, your overall thoughts. We're going to get to that in a second. We do want to kick it off with the traditional weekly Raw versus SmackDown poll. What we do is that on social media, Byte That Cast on Twitter, the moment each show ends, we put up a poll. So make sure you follow us there. And then we compare, because if it's just a poll asking, which one's better, we don't get a lot of information about that. So regarding Raw, we do the patented out of 4 rating system. And yeah, Raw, the trend continues. 44% of the people, the majority of the vote, said it was a mass show. Then 26% bad, 18% good, 12% great. With SmackDown, the complete opposite pretty much. 0% said it was bad, 17% said it was meh, 48%, that was the majority, said it was good, 35% great. So it was easily a one-sided race. And with Raw, I think it's a challenge. Because now we're going to go back to Clash of Champions. Because with SmackDown, even if SmackDown has a pay-per-view, we're going to find this out 2 weeks from now, they still have a day to recover. I don't know if you get what I'm saying here, whereas Raw, you have the pay-per-view, and then you have Raw the night after. So if you don't enjoy the pay-per-view, you're going in with a very negative mindset, where SmackDown, they can have an alright pay-per-view, but then there's something in between that's not just limited to that brand. So when you go on SmackDown on Tuesdays, you kind of feel a little bit refreshed.
It makes a ton of sense because you have back-to-back 6 hours of Raw content from the pay-per-view and Raw itself. So you can pretty much be really tired of that type of content by the end of Raw. Whereas with a SmackDown pay-per-view and SmackDown pay-per-view and then SmackDown's on Tuesday, you have that Raw in between to make you feel a lot better about SmackDown on Tuesday.
But at the same time, if you have the one show and it sets the bar as low as Clash of Champions did, wouldn't you like want to take the approach of, okay, there's no way that it could possibly go down from here, so we'll have a superior show, but is
that the mindset you really want to find yourself in?
Well, no, because you get hurt every week if you go in that mindset, but
that's what being a fan of wrestling is all about. And I want to say that Clash of Champions was not a bad show. There was nothing that really got you very excited. That was kind of the thing. But I feel like a lot of people worked really hard in these matches. It's just the sum of the effort did not equal the I don't even know what that saying is, but you know what I'm saying? Like, there was a lot of effort put in and the result maybe wasn't as good as it should have been.
Agreed. Like, Clash of Champions wasn't a bad show. I wouldn't say it was a very good show either. It was a very middle of the road show. The thing that was very weird about Clash of Champions for me was that it was hard to feel disappointed from it, because going into it, I felt nothing.
It's always a challenge for single branded pay-per-views. I mentioned this 2 weeks ago, I believe I did, where even back then when we had the original brand split, I didn't care about these single brand pay-per-views, because for me it's like, I already got you during the week. Like, give me a mix, give me a trail mix during the week, and I'll be happy about that. But you give me a single brand thing, and it's like, okay, I want to get your thoughts, Keith, about the one match that matters, because it's a one match that was doomed to either fail or people didn't care about. And that is Cesaro versus Sheamus. These two men put on one hell of a wrestling clinic. We're going to get to the things that happened on Raw in just a couple of minutes, but I want to get your thoughts about the match, given the -10 expectation that we had for it.
I mean, from that, it was probably the match of the night from expectations versus reality, because they did put on a hell of a match. I would say that they had the match of the night.
I would agree.
And everything, it was the only match that didn't really either disappoint or reach a neutral stance in my eyes, because there was no expectations going in.
Well, would you call a no contest a disappointment on a best of 7 series, though?
Yes and no.
See, Thank you. Just needed that.
You got
in a bubble, yes. As far as the actual what they did on the pay-per-view, yes, I would say that the disappointment. Like, come on, did you really need a whole best of 7 to come to this conclusion? But I do think that the follow-through on Raw makes it much less disappointing.
Now I got to give you the floor yet again, Keith.
Oh, goody.
Before I went to California, you were talking about Triple H and how we were waiting for certain things to be explained, and even I said, like, well, let's wait it out until Clash of Champions.
So see what happens.
Now, technically speaking, Keith, Triple H showed up after the show just to pick up his wife, and people are like speculating about this. I'm like, the man picked up his freaking wife after the show. But why is that Like, why is that a problem or like an indication of something?
Once again, it goes back to follow through. Yes, it wasn't on the actual show itself. Yes, it was on the WWE social media account. But that little thing did lead to the whole speculation. It continued the story as far as this whole Triple H and Stephanie McMahon thing. But then they dropped it again.
Yeah, exactly. There was no explanation, which is what you wanted, right?
Exactly. But that little tease was good enough on the pay-per-view. From a pay-per-view standpoint, that was all I was asking for. But the fact that they didn't continue, I'm sorry, Ryan, but the fact they didn't continue it, keep going with it, really, really got under my skin.
But see, the thing is, I feel like what they don't understand is that probably in the eyes of a lot of people, this entire pay-per-view might go up like an entire point or letter grade if they just tacked that little Triple H thing on at the very end.
Totally. That's all they needed to do.
Because then you're like, oh, snap. Was Stephanie involved the whole time or not? Now I actually want to tune into Raw and find out. And of course, we don't get a conclusive answer. But still, that is ending the pay-per-view on some form of intrigue. And the fact that it's on the actual pay-per-view itself makes it seem a lot more important than if it's just on a random Facebook video or wherever they threw it. Because if it's on that, it automatically feels like a throwaway segment and it seems less important. And I think that makes a huge difference, even if nothing in the actual clip itself has changed and it's just literally pasted onto the pay-per-view.
Because imagine it as one like fluid package where you get the ending of the Kevin Owens Seth Rollins match. You're kind of like left wondering, oh, did Stephanie McMahon screw over Seth in that? And then boom, it goes right to the Triple H thing. You're not seeing it the next day. You're not seeing it a couple hours later. It becomes one like conclusive thought in your mind. And it could, like Ryan said, that could have made it go up like a whole grade just from like a continuing overall storyline standpoint.
Ultimately, what you really want out of a pay-per-view is to get people intrigued, right? Like what we were talking about, speculation, get the ball rolling. It was a difficult Raw because of the presidential debate. So, you know, the last hour, I believe it was the one that was going to directly compete. And speaking of politics, I actually got some music going on in the background. If some can hear it, we're getting a lot of mayors down here. Puerto Rico's in corruption. We need, like, we've talked about this. Puerto Rico, help us,
Your
please.
island's a tire fire.
Yes, help us, please. But when you go to the ratings, you know, Raw has suffered yet another rating loss. Now, we don't often really talk about ratings here, but hell, Mick Foley, his whole thing as a GM is openly about the ratings war. So if we go by that, Mick Foley, you are doing the worst job as a GM of all time.
This is a situation, though, where you can actually blame it on the presidential debate. I mean, people have analyzed ratings. There's a lot of great articles that have looked at ratings versus the NFL every season and all of that. And even up against the NFL last year compared to this year, the ratings are lower. But this is obviously a more unique circumstance with the presidential debate, which I think drew in a ton of viewers. So I think this was an obvious thing that was going to draw people away from Raw. So even though I think it's one of, if not the lowest rating they've ever had for a Monday wrestling show, WWE, they can actually blame it on the presidential debate this time.
But so this is coming from like an outsider that doesn't really understand the whole television standpoint. But wouldn't that entice you to create a better product? Don't just say, oh, well, they're going to go watch the debate. Give people a reason to tune into your show. Switch between the debate and Raw, or Monday Night Football and Raw. Don't you want to create a better show that people just can't write off and be like, oh, well, it's going to suck this week? Like, that doesn't seem like a good excuse from a television standpoint.
Not even just that. At least go like, okay, fine, you're going to watch the presidential debate, but whatever happened on Raw is so good that you got to DVR it, you got to go back. But what do you go back to? A tag team match main event between Kevin Owens and Jericho, and then Enzo and Cass. So, okay, things that we've sort of seen before. So this is not something that makes it go like Raw is the A show. Like, this is coming off a pay-per-view.
Yeah, they weren't trying to compete, I guess. They were kind of doing the give-up play. But not that I even think that the end of Raw was that bad. I actually really enjoyed the Jericho, Owens, Enzo, and Cass segment in the tag match. It's clear, though, that they weren't trying to draw people away from the debate by doing like a title match or something huge that was can't miss television. I don't know. Is that the right way to go? Probably not. It doesn't, they just kind of threw in the towel in a way.
It's like Keith said, though. In his case and mine, the presidential debate doesn't matter, because even though the president does have an effect on Puerto Rico, we cannot vote for the president of the U.S. So I'm just sitting there going like, okay, I get it. There's a debate going on. I can't do anything about that. Keith is Canadian, so none of this applies to us. So you're, like in many other things WWE has done, you're punishing us for something that has nothing to do with us or that we have any effect over.
In the U.S., man. Because WWE doesn't care about you if you're outside of it, right?
I see.
I guess so, but even to that point, think about the way that the world. Think about the way that the world is these days. Where, let me ask you guys, in front of you right now, how many screens are there that you can see in your eye shot?
I have 3.
2.
So you could
5.
So theoretically, you could have the debate and Raw on at the same time. And I'm going to assume that most households are like that. You can't really just throw in the towel.
You got the phone. Everybody's got a phone. It's so accessible. And I know that we're all sort of in agreement that, WWE kind of did throw in the towel, so it's not like any of us are trying to defend them. But I do think that it is upsetting. Now, the other thing that I want to get to here that really grinded my gears so badly. The Cruiserweight matches on Raw, we got 2 of them, and they were very good. You know, on contrary to like the match that Kendrick had with T.J. Perkins at Clash of Champions, not exactly a good match, not a good showcase. We've seen what these guys can do in the CWC, but now during Raw, all of a sudden, I'm watching the Cruiserweight match, and I swear, I think I'm joking or my head is playing with me. I hear the CM Punk chants, and I'm going like, no, they're not doing that for this. Roman Reigns isn't out there. John Cena isn't out there. The usual things. We hear Randy Savage chants, and I believe there was like a tiny boring chant for like a solid 5 seconds. And I'm just going, what the hell? Like, do wrestling fans not complain enough about wanting new things? They give you a new toy, and you're like a 5-year-old where you just play with the new toy. You already want another one. You haven't even opened the box yet. What the hell?
This is the part of the show where, as 1/20th owner of the Slammy for greatest crowd of 20, whatever WrestleMania.
You said 1/20th? Wow, you're really taking the lion's share there now.
1/20,000th. Thank you for the correction. Owner of the greatest crowd Slammy for the night after WrestleMania 29. I feel the need to apologize to everybody because it's all of our fault.
No, it's true.
You just tried to put yourself over.
Yeah, you guys, it's your fault that Full Sail is the way that it is. It's your fault that these crowds are just trying to hijack Raw. But in actuality, let's hope this is an isolated incident. I mean, we can't control the crowd, but part of it is really just the crowd has to get to know these people. A lot of the crowd is probably like me, and they haven't watched the CWC, so they don't know a lot of these guys. And some people in the crowd are just rude, and they want, like, I will personally, and I've said it before, I will never chant boring at a wrestling show ever.
Rude.
Even if I am bored, I think it's one of the most disrespectful things you can do.
It absolutely is.
So, yeah, but there's some people that just do that. But once people actually get to know these guys, I think it'll catch on because they are way too talented. And it seemed like the crowd was into the tag match initially, but it was the second match where things fell off, even though I thought the match was fantastic. Now, I just want to give a quick shout out to the poor production crew who has to change the ropes now like 5 times in a night because of putting up the purple ropes for the CWC. So to put the Raw ropes up, take them down, put the purple ropes up. Take them down, put the Raw ropes up, take them down, put the purple ropes up.
Do they put the ropes or is it tape? Because I've read a lot that it's tape.
Even if it's tape, it's still a pain in the ass.
No, if anything, it's more of a pain in the ass.
Unless maybe it's like a sleeve. Maybe it's like a purple sleeve. But
no, it's not. I know it's not that.
Oh, it's not?
So it just sucks for them.
No matter what it is, that is a small time frame to do that much work in, and they should be commended for it because, man, is that impressive.
How the production crew puts the purple ropes on, please tweet me. I need to know. If not, these poor guys got more unnecessary work. I mean, I like that it has a different feel, but is it worth it for these guys? I mean, a couple of years ago, didn't they stop paying for their travel and stuff? Like, these guys are just getting screwed at every end.
No kidding. But Ryan, I'd like to go back to your point that you had about maybe that they're doing these chants because the crowd doesn't know who everybody in the cruiserweight division is. And I think that this has been the entire cruiserweight division itself has been a really good gauge of the WWE versus NXT WWE network viewer base, because throughout the entire cruiserweight division, it's kind of been that whole thing of like, oh, the crowd really isn't getting into it because it's a bunch of new faces. I called out Rich Swann's entrance last week because that was a glaring thing that made that obvious to me. And these matches this week was the exact same thing. It almost feels like, do you remember when Bray Wyatt debuted and the crowd just chanted Husky Harris at him? Because, we know Husky, get it, guys? The entire cruiserweight division really feels like it goes back to that mindset. And it's a bummer, but it's also like a really good reminder of just how much of a difference the WWE audience and the NXT audience is, even though it's all under the umbrella. And us as diehard fans just assume it's all one big thing. It's really not.
Yeah, it's really not. And we already got the the old school indie darlings in WWE, you know, with AJ Styles, Finn Balor, Nakamura. So now with the Classic, you have guys like TJ Perkins, which some people know is either a Manic from TNA or something, but they're not names that you at least have heard of as commonly as you have an AJ Styles. So let's wait and see if it's a reoccurring thing. I really hope it's not with the CWC Cruiserweight. Man, I got so used to saying CWC for weeks on end that I'm trying to just say Cruiserweight division.
It's like Diva.
A division. Oh man, no. Luckily that got over with. Now, okay, it seems like for a little while there, we were out of the ropes or the concerns about injuries. Now, I don't know. I honestly don't know if this has been confirmed or not, but there have been reports about Seth Rollins possibly being injured. I don't know if anybody else has more information about that, but it is a cause for concern if it's a possibility. You know, we had Rollins involved with Kevin Owens. Of course, they had a match at Clash of Champions, and Kevin Owens is still going in with the great BFF, sort of like, not tag team, but, you know, what would you call them? Just BFFs?
Just friends.
Yeah.
The buddy system. It's the buddy system.
There you go. So with Chris Jericho, so number one, what do you guys think about the possibility? Because we can't confirm or deny right now. So let's just say, okay, in the event that there's some kind of possible injury, I want your quick thoughts, because this could all be a hoax.
Well, with, I just looked it up, and the latest rumor, at least by Cage Side Seats, is that Seth Rollins was injured enough that WWE didn't want him to get physical on Raw this week, but he's not expected to miss any actual TV time. So he might be okay by Hell in a Cell, but I'm probably not expecting him to have any type of actual match until then.
He'll probably be at the pay-per-view, but just do segments and stuff till then.
Yeah, clearly, after, Clash of Champions, I assume he was evaluated. And if he's already out on Raw continuing the feud, you have to think that he will,
it's not
at
as
least
bad, yeah.
That it's not severe enough that he's going to be out for any extended period of time, which is really good because Raw, I think, could not really afford to lose him right now. I mean, they just locked Roman Reigns into the whole U.S. title scene, so you really need Seth in that main event scene, and he is in a very integral part of Raw right now.
He is the face that runs a place for Raw, because we got AJ for that on SmackDown. With Kevin Owens, I'm like at a weird point where, don't get me wrong, I'm enjoying what he's doing, but I don't know who Kevin Owens is.
It's almost like there's a giant piece of that entire story missing. Maybe by, I don't know, the Triple H thing that should be happening by now?
My God. I think you're onto something, Keith. And you're completely right. Are they going to stretch this out all the way until the next pay-per-view? I really hope not, because, okay, they're
stretching out to like Royal Rumble, dude. You know it.
Probably. Okay, so on SmackDown, we're getting like our three topics about SmackDown this week are the three primary storylines, but we're gonna get to like Cena. It's like, talking trash about Dean on Talking Smack and all that on Raw. We just got some BFFs, man. Like, they're just having a good time.
Yeah,
and then you got the New Day.
That's what I kind of want to bring up is you're saying, oh, we're missing this point of Kevin Owens being a champion and his identity and things like that. First of all, I want to say it's weird that Kevin Owens is champion, and I'm like, I feel like the hype is already gone, which kind of sucks because I want to be more excited, but for some reason I'm not. But the thing is, if the Triple H thing was really going on, how different would it be than the whole Seth Triple H thing that we had all last year? Do we really want that? Because the whole Jericho Owens friendship thing is actually very entertaining, and I much rather have that than some Authority 3.0 or whatever 0.0 we're at this point. Instead, like the interactions between Owens and Jericho is amazing.
Say what you will about Triple H and how he's always in the spotlight, but when he's involved in something, it always feels very important. It's the main thing going on with the show. So it could help a lot with Kevin Owens really feeling like, if Triple H is behind this guy, this is the guy, this is the champ, the same way that Seth Rollins was for a very long time.
There's a strong possibility it's going to be Rollins versus Triple H at WrestleMania next year. I don't see any other scenario for that. But I'm very much on the Keith train now, where just tell me whatever it is at this point. I just want to know, how should I feel about Owens, because it feels like they're just stalling. And if it's a 2-hour show, then fine. But it's a 3-hour show where they do that. And then I'm just waiting. Okay, so are they actually BFFs, or are they being overly joyous to eventually turn on one another? And then maybe we get that match at the end of the year, which I believe it is going to happen as well. I just want to get a feeling of Kevin Owens just before, like, go to WWE.com and check out his interviews where he wanted to become champion. He became champion, and he changed. They did the WWE thing. And once again, he's entertaining, but he had a perfect balance just before becoming champion where he could be entertaining and you would also just take him seriously, even if he just said a joke or a comment. And it seems like they stripped most of those things away and then just said, well, he's best friends with Jericho. Let's do that, and then let's do something else later. I like layers of storyline development, storytelling that SmackDown's doing, and Raw is becoming so damn dry about this. Like, even with Roman Reigns, he became U.S. champion, and then Rusev just gets, demolished 2 nights in a row, like, solid matches overall. But then it's kind of like, once again, it's just about the championship. I almost want to skip anything else from Raw just to get to SmackDown. And that says a lot about how I feel about Raw.
I'm cool with that.
Yeah, no, I totally feel that way too. And I don't want this podcast to turn into like, let's crap on Raw and praise SmackDown every week. But one thing is that now that it used to be we just talk about Raw because SmackDown was totally irrelevant. So that was we didn't really have anything to compare Raw to. Because, NXT, great show, but you can't really have it on the same level for a lot of obvious reasons because of ratings and, obligations, stockholders, all that jazz. But now you actually have a show that is like on equal footing that you can directly compare it to. And it's just making Raw look so much worse. Because the whole new era thing, all of that now is happening on SmackDown. The first, 2 Raws, they nailed it. And then they just totally lost their way. And it feels like the same Raw with half the roster.
And not only that, but even from a WWE story standpoint, up to the draft, they were saying Raw versus SmackDown, Stephanie versus Shane. They were telling us to compare the 2 shows. And now that it's actually happening, one is blowing it out of the water while the other is sinking very fast.
That right there is the exact point. We didn't have a reference point like Ryan said, but here's one company delivering 2 shows. And right now, it's like, this is the show to watch. And this is the show you're used to watching. See the difference there. It's not because you want to watch it. It's because we're creatures of habit.
Yeah. It feels wrong to not watch Raw, even though a lot of times I don't want to watch Raw.
And even though we say negative things about the show, I still, on Monday night, look forward to watching Raw, getting my fix, even though it hurts most weeks. I still come back every single week.
And we just sound more and more like drug addicts.
It's not that far off. Wrestling is an abusive relationship, folks. It hurts you, and all you do is want to love.
And the sad part is it wasn't even a bad Raw episode. I'll just leave it at that. It wasn't even a bad Raw episode. It was so decent that it doesn't leave you wanting more. You got enough that you wanted to get it over with because, SmackDown's coming on the day after, and that's going to be hopefully, and it was a better show.
I love that as the most positive thing you can say. It's so decent, it doesn't leave you wanting more.
Just like you, Ryan.
What?
Oh. Let's get to talking about more possible best friends. We got Cesaro, Sheamus. We got a Bike Club member that hit the nail on the head with this because, they had a killer match at Clash of Champions. So everybody's thinking, okay, Raw, it's gonna be the final match. They're gonna do that. But even me, I'm going, historically, they don't do that. Historically, they turn them into tag teams. Damn it! They did the tag team thing. They did it. So Cesaro and Sheamus are the new team Hell No. MVP Matt Hardy to an extent. There are so many examples.
Those are
about
perfect
these
comparisons,
things.
but I love when these teams come around. It's honestly, I think this is a better a better outcome than just, oh, hey, Sheamus got a title shot, or hey, Cesaro got a title shot. You can really build something out of this and something fun.
No, 100%. Now, I thought that this was going to be, I mean, it is kind of a cop-out to the best of 7, let's be honest. And first of all, I want to give a shout-out to Jarrett Qualls, because he was the one on Twitter who called that perfectly for this tag team. But, like, I feel like, you did 7 matches, and I guess the whole point is to not have a definitive ending, so they're an equal tag team. I don't know. I just don't know how I feel about that. I am excited for this tag team. I just don't like that it was a cop-out ending to a best of 7 series, something we haven't gotten in so long. But that being said, I think this is a good direction for both of these guys, because the tag team division is kind of drying up on Raw, because just screw Gallows and Anderson, right? Forget those guys, because they're worth nothing, apparently.
The 2 bald dudes that had this big hype from Japan, and now they're just they're there.
Yeah.
They talked about penises and balls, and that's it.
They had a chance to make those guys worth something, and they said, no, let's move on. Let's move on.
Seriously, what do you do with these guys? You split them from AJ, and then for a solid 2 weeks, they were a threatening force. Then they started doing the comedy thing, which they're great at. Listen to Talking Shop. I believe the new one from the Talk is Jericho is coming out this week, which they recorded in Australia, I believe. So I can't wait for that. But I don't even know what they are now.
Do you think that it is just an unfortunate victim of the fact that the WWE is hell-bent on breaking every single record in the book right now? Over the last couple of years, almost every single title reign has been, oh, this is the longest ever. Hey, every Royal Rumble record, we've beaten all those before. So do you think this is some sort of byproduct because the New Day has been so... their title reign has been so long at this point that yes, it makes sense. Gallows and Anderson should be tag team champions right now, but we need to keep adding days to this title reign.
Yeah, the whole thing apparently has to do with Demolition, because they're involved in this lawsuit that everybody and their mother is suing WWE for or something.
It's so petty. Oh my God, is it petty? If that's and it really is. That's why they broke AJ Lee's record just because she ended the company, had a poor ending with the company or whatever. So let's have Nikki Bella break it. And now they're in a bad standing with Demolition, so they're going to have the New Day get it. Yeah, so Demolition inadvertently screwed over Gallows and Anderson. I guess that's a thing now.
It's some weird butterfly effect.
Yeah, just because they want to be so petty. Yeah, no, I think it's really dumb. I think there's a lot of value in having long-standing records from, the days of the past. But it seems like now, if they're just in any bad standing with anyone, they're like, oh, let's totally break that record. Because
but not even because it's bad settings. Look at all the Royal Rumble records. Roman Reigns broke Kane's record a couple of years ago just so they have somebody else to do it. But they're doing it with every single record.
No, now it's getting ridiculous. Ever since the whole women's title thing, it's gotten a little ridiculous.
Many things are like that. You talk about John Cena on SmackDown. He wants to tie the championship.
That's
the
a little
amount of times
different.
he's been champion. Yeah, I know, but still, there is something nice about that. But the problem is that along the road, you kill so many things. It's kind of like when John Cena beat the Nexus, right? Where, okay, John Cena won, but think of all the things he killed off. Now, with New Day, awesome. You break the record. Guess what? Along the way, you made every other tag team irrelevant. What now, man?
Yeah, no, 100%. This was a situation where you're just doing a detriment to your tag division by just trying to break a record that, guess what? Probably 97% of your audience, and that's a real statistic, not really, doesn't even know. Most of the audience doesn't even know who Demolition is at this point. Let's be real. So what does it matter? What does it matter?
They don't even care.
Yeah, and they don't. Even if they do know, they don't care.
Such a sad world where you have this multi-million-dollar company where I want them to be like the thing. I can't
I'm
even do a
surprised
Vince McMahon
CM Punk's
impression.
record is still going right now, and it's only probably because it's not number one. That's why. And luckily,
and that's never getting broken, folks.
Yeah, no, that's the great thing about the WWE title is the number one record is so absurd that will never be broken.
It will never be broken.
Yeah.
Now, before we venture onto the world of SmackDown Live and talk about a bunch of positive things, if you enjoy the podcast, you enjoy the score roundtables on the YouTube channel, and you wish that you could listen to them while you were on the road, we are doing our best to be able to provide things like that long-term in very sustainable fashions, and we do that through Patreon. So for those that don't know, Patreon is a crowdfunding website where you can contribute directly to us in different type of tiers or pledges, and you get things in return. Like right now, we're recording a bunch of cool stuff this weekend, and some of our patrons were directly involved in really selecting or voting as to what we're going to be doing. We give you updates like, this is what we recorded. You get early access. So this week, Gold Patreon members, you get not one, but 2 early access videos up already for you, simply for supporting us. We're working towards different goals, like on YouTube, we keep getting the comments. When are you guys doing video? We actually have a goal for that, where we will do the podcast on a weekly basis. Why was there a vase? I don't know, but maybe we put it on video and we put it inside of a vase or a vase.
Or we put some flowers in a vase and display it.
And there you go, and it's going to be beautiful. Actually, yeah, exactly, because it's on video, we're going to put the vase, and that's the indication that it's going to happen. And so maybe Q&A stuff, a bunch of crazy stuff is going to be happening. And what else
wow.
going on,
weird.
Ryan? Yeah,
I don't even know what just happened there.
Magic happened, Keith.
Okay.
Well, this week for our patrons, we'd like to thank Matthew Zaller, and we'd also like to thank him for rocking the Byte That t-shirt to SmackDown this week. Thank you for that, and hey, we're going to have some news really soon about t-shirts and stuff that is going to be pretty exciting, so stay tuned for that.
Including a t-shirt I am very excited about.
Yes. Let's just say #blame Keith. Now, we also want to let you guys know that this Friday, we're going to have a fun video. Anyone who's a fan of Game of Thrones, and, we did a video comparing WWE superstars to who they would be in Game of Thrones. Now, me and Keith are big fans of the show, so we talk through a lot of the big characters from the show and see what WWE superstars really fit that role.
Yeah, and on the weekend, I'm actually going to have a video up where I talk about the Lucha Libre Taco Shop, which I visited in San Diego, California. They got 2 locations. They had the nutty burrito with peanut sauce. It was pretty good. So you get to see a bunch of pictures and videos about the shop and how awesome it is. You don't get to see me. I'm not Guy Fieri. I ain't Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives, although I love the show. But hopefully one day, Byte That takes a literal turn and we just start biting things on video.
You love Diners, Dives, and Drive-Ins, did you just say?
Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives.
Yeah, that one. Did you just say you love it?
Yeah, it's an awesome show.
All right, we need to have a talk later.
I'm afraid right now. Okay. But yeah, for the
it's
patron
a trash show,
just
and Guy Fieri is human trash.
What?
Wow.
Whoa.
Well,
okay.
yeah, his hair is questionable at best.
Okay, his hair is terrible, okay? But I enjoy the show.
He looks like a cheap Super Saiyan. And he's just...
So patreon.com/byte that if you're still listening. Okay, how do I even go to SmackDown after that? I guess we just
Speaking of good shows, unlike that Guy Fieri show, SmackDown happened this week.
Wow.
There you go.
Okay, so we have we have 3 things to talk about from SmackDown this week. So it's going to be about Randy Orton, I added a T at the end, and Bray Wyatt, Dolph Ziggler and The Miz, and John Cena talking smack. God damn, he killed Dean Ambrose with a microphone. So the first thing is, the whole show had a theme, which is Randy looks for Bray. So throughout the whole thing, instead of just turning on the lights or just like asking somebody, where's Bray, he goes into the boiler room and then tries to find him, ultimately finds him. He takes over Eric Rowan's lamb mask, and he creeps him out. Now, the thing that everybody is asking, Was that their thing at the end intentional? You guys know what I'm talking about, where they showed Randy, but then they showed Bray for like 4 seconds at the end of that promo just talking. And it seemed like an error, because why would they go back to just showing Bray talking normally and then end it there? That was weird.
I have no idea. I was kind of like half paying attention when that happened, and then I kind of tuned in. I was like, wait, what the heck just happened? I thought Randy just like scared him off when he was punching him. So I really didn't figure out what the heck was happening. A lot of people were talking about how cheesy and dumb this was, and yeah, Randy could have just turned on the lights and all that jazz. I really appreciated the effort more than anything. It was really actually trying to have some Bray Wyatt mind games and stuff. It kind of reminded me a little bit of like that game Heavy Rain, where you had to make like decisions and stuff, and there were allegedly traps. Like, oh man, you're gonna get that cut out Randy Orton with glowy eyes. Watch out for that one. Like, I don't know how that I don't know how that was a trap, but anyway, obviously Eric Rowan was just apparently everywhere where the bad stuff was. But still,
big like, Red gets around, you know?
I liked a whole thing that they kept jumping back to throughout the course of the night. And like it was Bray Wyatt doing something more than just talk. So,
and I think that's exactly it.
For that, I liked it.
Yeah, and do you remember back in the day when they used to do things like this with Randy Orton and The Undertaker, like where The Undertaker, or where Randy Orton would go search for The Undertaker backstage, then all this weird, creepy stuff would happen? It reminded me a lot of that, like really trying to hit home that Undertaker vibe with Bray Wyatt. The only problem is with this situation is that at this point, I just feel nothing when it comes to Bray Wyatt. I don't know if it's just one too many losses or just the same old story, but ooh, Bray Wyatt's talking about that he's God again. No, look out. Like, I just don't care about this.
Brains is in such a tough spot because he's almost got the Raw treatment where, okay, some people are saying that the whole segment was cheesy. The Bray Wyatt character is cheesy. It's a dude that is the eater of worlds or words or whatever. Like, he's a crazy character. So he does the promos, and now everybody responds, well, he's just copying and pasting what he said last week. That's the thing he does, because, I mean, that's how he talks. So they finally take it one step further, and they do this backstage thing, and then they call it cheesy. So what do you do with Bray? Aside from this, like, I think that this is what you do with it, and then you just got to disconnect yourself from all the realism that, you know, John Cena may say during Talking Smack, and just have fun with it. Especially because it's Randy, because it's been years since Randy has been involved in something like this, like since the Undertaker stuff, where he's part of the show, and not just like a build-up to a match against Brock Lesnar, but he's actively involved in segments, and he's finally wearing pants. And we need to really appreciate that, because it took damn near a decade for that to happen. So we got to look at the positives in this.
But we've seen examples of Bray Wyatt going great at the same time, like not just being this crazy lunatic that talks about being a god in the face of fear. Like, if you remember back to when he was feuding with people like John Cena, even Kane back in the day, when like all of his promos had a directed message. There was a point to them, not just, ooh, I'm a god, got the whole world in my hands. It's really like devolved since then, and that's the Bray Wyatt that I would like to see. Instead of just running around making all these spooky traps, make them all have purpose. Send a message to Randy Orton. Like, Bray Wyatt can be one of the most cryptic, like, psychological characters on the roster, and just time after time it feels like they fumble it.
Yeah, I think this is a step in the right direction, though, and I would like to see more things from Bray like this, but in particular things that are kind of off-site. I really, even though the compound thing was really just kind of meaningless.
Man, that happened. I forgot about that already.
I like that it was somewhere totally different that isn't an arena. You know, because Bray Wyatt just making trap, like, it's kind of dumb if he's literally in a sports arena making traps. Like, he's in a freaking sports arena.
Is it even allowed?
Yeah. Like, just be out.
That's true. Like, workers' compensation might have a thing to say about that.
Yeah, I don't know, but like, go out in the woods or something. Get outside, Bray Wyatt. Damn it! Stop sitting inside making traps. All right.
Got to be all like Junkrat, laying down them booby traps. Now, I'm really looking forward to this because it feels like the majority of the show we've been talking about things we're not loving too much, but these two things, if you have a takeaway that SmackDown is able to deliver not one, not two, three main event storylines at the same time, and they all feel important, it's this, Randy Wyatt, and then up next we have Ziggler Miz. The one that we're all going like the Miz is awesome ever since Maurice came back to the picture, and then Dolph Ziggler's kind of like doing the Ziggler thing. When Ziggler came out, I'm thinking, here we go, damn it, like yet again, the next, like, I do this every day in, day out promo that we've heard so many times. And
but
then,
he cried this time, so there's a new
He did
form.
cry. He did cry. So he channeled his inner Sasha Banks. He cried a little bit there.
Oh, that was beautiful. That was beautiful.
Because he cried, we cared. Not just that, he put his career on the line. So let's get to the thing that we got to talk about then. Is it actually happening? Is he actually going to lose?
Is it bad that I want it to?
See, that's the thing that makes this so great, because anybody else on the roster right now, if they put their career on the line in a match, you would think like, okay, well, I guess they're going to win the title in this match. But with Dolph Ziggler, he's been on such a losing streak, such a negative thing lately, that it's actually plausible that he could go out. Exactly. And with those rumors, like, it's been over a year now that they're talking like, oh, Ziggler might be leaving. Ziggler might be leaving. It could actually happen. And, minus the whole, like, losing your job, quitting your job thing, I actually kind of want to see it that way. Because it's nice, because all the time you always see the person who puts their career on the line lose, unless it's this big retirement match at, like, a WrestleMania that you see coming a mile away. They always win the career versus title match. So make this the one time that doesn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, the only situation I'd actually really want Ziggler to win here is if it was for the world title and it was his career on the line. And I think I would be all for it then. But I mean, this promo is probably just one of the most, like, perfectly constructed promos I've ever seen. And I say that in the way that just, The Miz comes out and is just crapping all over Ziggler and, talking about how, he's saying a lot of truth about really just Ziggler's career. If you look at it, is a failure, and it's really unfortunate. And he doesn't want to give him a title shot, and it makes all the sense that Ziggler really doesn't deserve one. And then Ziggler, he does cut that kind of similar, I do this day in and day out, but obviously the emotions are extra high. And the fact that he's willing to put his career on the line, it really resonates, because this is what the audience is actually feeling in this feud, and they're kicking it up a notch. And I just love the way Miz reacts to Ziggler putting his career on the line. Like, this is, so many times we see the heel just accept title matches for no reason. Why do they need to put their title on the line? You actually feel like the Miz wants this. He really wants to end his career. And I just love the way he perked up when the Ziggler brought up putting his career on the line. I just thought this was just beautifully done, like, throughout. And now this is an intense match that we legitimately have no idea how it's going to end. They've done a good job of keeping it in the wraps of whether Ziggler is actually going to retire or not. So the stakes are actually going to feel very high.
And it's so good. And the closing comment here is that they've built up The Miz as like an early 90s, mid-range champion with the IC championship, where he's so good at it. You almost think like, oh, they should push him to the WWE World Championship. Don't. That's the problem. We as fans were trained to think, oh, this guy's doing great, shoot him up. No, have this be his thing, his segment, his championship. We've seen that the U.S. Championship and the IC Championship can have a little bit more leeway, more flexibility with the storylines they have. And with stuff like this, imagine in the event that, Ziggler does lose and he ends his career, the bragging rights that The Miz would have against like anybody afterwards. And then with Maurice by his side, he is the best built-up character that the WWE has right now, considering where he came from. he came from absolute irrelevance ever since his match at WrestleMania. And we're talking about a couple years. That's not 2 years.
You know, it almost feels shitty to say, but the inferior outcome is that if Dolph Ziggler wins, because, okay, what happens then? Yay, he's the Intercontinental Champion. On to what?
Yeah, the Intercontinental title has felt really important, more than it has in a very long time, since The Miz has really caught this fire. And it just seems like, even though Ziggler's putting his career on the line, it's like, it's way too soon to take this title off of Miz.
And Ziggler's not going to be out of a job. He does enough things outside of WWE. I mean, the man can wrestle, he can act, he can do whatever he wants, day in and day out.
And I love that little kind of side note of, you know, Miz going no Raw, no NXT, none of that crap. So it throws away any oh, they're just gonna fire him and it'll be on Raw the next week. You know, something like that that's gonna really water down the stakes of this match.
Before we move on to the final topic on SmackDown, I just want to summarize that in just this storyline, not the main event storyline for SmackDown, we have two well-established characters with a side character, Maurice. They have a clear purpose, which has been clearly indicated with a specific outcome, with past situations that are brought up to today for relevance, and it's intriguing and it's engaging. And it's almost like what we want out of the main event championship scene on Raw. But maybe that's asking for just a little bit too much. Now, even though, as we say a couple of times, SmackDown is a 2-hour show, it's kind of a 2.5-hour show, because Talking Smack is what you really want to watch, because it's just insane. It's awesome. And they've had this pseudo storyline with Ambrose and Cena, where, yeah, they're battling at No Mercy in the triple threat match, but Ambrose has gone on talking smack about John Cena. Last week he called him lazy, which I thought was stupid. Like, you can call Cena a bad wrestler. Like, even if you want to do the trendy thing, call him a bad wrestler. I don't agree with it. Lazy? Come on now. Really?
Really? Yeah, there's a lot of words you could describe John Cena, but lazy is definitely not one of them.
So what happened? Now Cena has the microphone. And my God, if we thought The Miz was being direct with Ziggler, The Miz was like the Teletubbies and John Cena was like Voltron or something, where he murdered verbally Dean Ambrose to the point where there was no comeback. There's no comeback from this.
The way he did it, too. He just, like, carefully and meticulously ripped Dean Ambrose a new asshole. Just like, he was so calm in his delivery, it was unbelievable.
I haven't seen Talking Smack yet, and the way you guys are describing it, I need to go watch it right now. So thanks for the show.
The one thing I got to bring up about it is that he'll start talking about the Shield, where, you know, Dean Ambrose at the very beginning, people saw him as, no reference here, but the shining star of the Shield. But then fast forward to 2016, you have established superstars in Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. Where's Dean Ambrose? He's still out there trying to find himself. And there are things that we as fans have been saying. Like when he was, you know, he lost the title to AJ, but we've been saying, okay, it feels like he deserved to be champion, but there's something about him when he gets into the ring that still feels weird. And it's not just the rebound clothesline. It's just that he's cool, but he's not Mexicool. You know, you wouldn't go that step further.
Oh my God. Apologize for that.
Yeah, seriously.
I'm sorry. Ryan's face. Ryan, why were you the one being offended here?
I'm not all right. Yes, it's totally offensive, but it was so bad. That was awful.
Oh my God. But yeah, Talking Smack, the closing comment for this one here, as sort of food for thought, WWE has something, Raw cannot compete with Talking Smack ever, because they have 30 minutes to explain everything. They're able to just sit down with the general manager and say, hey, why is this happening? Why is this happening? Becky Lynch, why do you think Alexa Bliss is a good contender for your championship? Hey, she did this earlier in the night. Why did she do that? You're left with all the questions you want answered, and you have a week to marinate or come
there
up with
should be
your
a
new
talking
questions.
smack for Raw. Call it like doing it raw or raw talk.
Oh man, in like 30 minutes, make it 1 hour because it's a 3-hour show.
Oh my god!
So you do a 1 hour talking Raw.
Stop giving them ideas. But see, the thing is, Raw, the Raw talking smack thing would need an hour because they have to just like. They have to tie up all the loose end and just bullcrap that's going on, and they have to explain their way out of every decision. Talking Smack does a great job of just adding a little bit of depth to everything that happened on the show. And just like Daniel Bryan, we don't know how much actual decision making, if any, he has on SmackDown, but he plays the part really well, like what the GM duties actually are. And it's really cool to just get that little bit of extra depth from a GM, because what we see on their on TV role doesn't usually it's just kind of like they're there and they make matches, but like having people say, oh yeah, we made this match official after this promo is kind of cool instead of just seeing it come up on a title card.
And even then he explains it. He was absent on SmackDown, but he says, the reason you didn't see me was because I was working. Now on Raw, they do so-and-so. And it just kills Raw because Daniel Bryan seems like a real GM. And Mick Foley is in no way convincing of a GM. He is terrible at this. I'm sorry, but I love Foley.
Is that part of the story, though, that he's supposed to be bad? I mean, I think we all...
I don't think so. Not to that degree.
Stop, Justin. Ryan, stop being such a Raw apologist, man.
It's so difficult for me to like, I have a bias towards Mick Foley. I always have a soft spot in my heart for Mick Foley. So I feel like I got to defend the guy. But no, I mean, there's definitely been a lot of errors with promos and stuff like that. But I feel like part of the storyline is that, we all saw Stephanie in Mick Foley, that pairing. Eventually Stephanie's just going to rip Mick Foley to shreds. I mean,
Absolutely.
We all know that's coming.
But it's just the delivery that Mick Foley has been kind of leaning on the last couple of weeks. Like, he's talking and then all of a sudden he's gonna get serious and then he screams into the microphone. Like, he does that in almost every single segment, and it's almost wearing thin. Like, oh, look, Mick Foley's yelling again. Crazy old man.
Old man Foley. He's just like, he still can't get over Frank the Clown.
Can you blame him?
Anyone?
Exactly. We're all in mutual agreement here. Now, folks, we're really happy that we do get to cover SmackDown. We also bring up your questions every single week. You can send them over on email, bytethatcast@gmail.com. Let us know where you're from and bring us something cool, something crazy, maybe super crazy, or send us a tweet.
That's 2 this week. No.
Hey, I was gone for a week, man. Give me a break. I got to lay down the law and remind people how bad I am at the funny thing.
And this is not becoming a thing.
No.
I mean,
No.
Juan's been away so long, maybe he's just getting a case of psychosis. Who knows?
It's a possibility. I got nothing for Juventud. Sorry, Juventud.
Come on.
But yeah, Byte That Cast on Twitter. Use the hashtag AskBT. You can also drop a comment on the YouTube. But I do recommend that with everything that's been happening, send us a tweet on the Wednesday. The tweeting is the best way you get to consume Raw and SmackDown. Then you bring up your questions. And now I leave the floor to Keith Poshik, who will now like bring these up so we answer them.
Well, I don't want to hoove and toot the horn of the Byte Club, but we got some really good questions this week. One of which is from Peter D. That's how you do it. And Peter D says, "Aloha, guys.
Aloha.
I'm going to list 10 superstars, and you have to say whether they will or they won't hold a major title, either the Universal title or the WWE World title in their career. No explanations, just a yes or a no. So are we ready? We're going to do Ryan, Juan, myself."
Ryan, Juan, myself. Wait, no, Ryan.
Next try.
Oh,
okay.
Just do it.
Wow.
God damn it. Okay. I need to compose myself after that. God damn it. Number 1, Kalisto.
No.
No. Baron Corbin.
No.
Yes.
Yes. Apollo Crews.
No.
No. And it was my turn.
No.
Oh, sorry. Was it myself?
Neville.
No.
No.
Yes. Big E.
Yes.
Yes.
Nope. Luke Harper.
No.
No.
No. Sami Zayn.
No.
Oh my God, this is a tough one. Yes.
Yes. It's not that tough. Cesaro.
No.
No.
No. Rusev.
Yes.
Yes, and he should.
Yes. And finally, Bray Wyatt.
Yes.
Yes.
No.
I will say the Bray Wyatt thing only because there's a brand split. That is the only reason why it will happen at some point.
Yeah, the only one I think I'm probably, if I'm going to be wrong on any of them, it's probably going to be Sami Zayn. The 2-title system is going to benefit a lot of these guys, but even still, I said no to a lot of them.
Indeed. So thank you for the question. Our next one comes in from Tanner, who asks, who has improved more from the brand split? Carmella or Naomi?
Well, I would have to say that Naomi, only because we have a lot of main roster experience to kind of go off of, but I think both of them have really improved and are benefiting a lot by being on the SmackDown brand, because Naomi was getting lost in the shuffle for a long time and she's finally getting some much needed attention, and Carmella's new angle with Nikki Bella, I think, is really showing an intense side of her that maybe wasn't there before.
Yeah, by far Naomi. I don't think of her as a funkadactyl anymore. She's actually part of the women's division, so that alone itself answers the question. You know, she's finally coming to her own, really, with her personality. Carmella, she was never bad in the ring. It was her character, but they were able to take the bad things about it and just make her heel with those things in mind, and that ended up working out pretty well. But yeah, Naomi out of the two.
See, I'm going to have to go with Carmella because a few years ago around WrestleMania 30, Naomi started hitting that stride, and then whatever happened. She lost it for a bit. But with Carmella, like, I always thought Carmella was kind of doomed to fail when she originally came up to the roster, because she was still kind of doing the whole Enzo and Cass thing and really didn't have her own identity. But then all of a sudden, boom, they switched it up, and now it's just night and day. And I really like what they're doing with Carmella. She's one of my favorite women on the SmackDown side, and I'd like to see where they go from there. And Naomi got crazy. That's all I'm going to say about Naomi. That entrance is something else. So thank you for the question. Our next one comes in from Hayden F., who asks, what are your thoughts on the WWE video game WWE 2K17, and will you be doing your own version of My Universe or My Career?
I was looking at a lot of footage today. A bunch of entrances came out, like Nakamura and all those. I'm still disappointed by just the most simple things. They still can't get the sound mixing. It's still off, and I think it's unfortunate. There's a possibility I may get it, and if I do get it, then we'll do something. I did streams last year. I don't think it would be to that extent, but I'm not feeling it. I watched a lot of matches, and I'm still feeling like I want to get it out of habit, but not because I'm legitimately excited for it.
I got really bored of 2K16 really quickly, a lot faster than I would have liked. So it's going to be very difficult for me to justify getting 2K17. If I happen to come across it at, a cheap price, I might pick it up. Or if when it releases, people just think otherwise, it gets a lot of good reception from the community, then I'll definitely get it then. But as things stand now, there's just not enough for me to justify purchasing it.
Agreed. Whether it just be from purchasing the last few and being disappointed by it, but I feel no desire to purchase this game, especially at full price. Maybe when it comes down a little bit in price, but nothing about this new game has really grabbed me or appealed to me. I will give them credit for that Suplex City commercial / promo. That was awesome. But all of the WWE commercials have been awesome the last couple of years, so even that isn't really all that special. But the gameplay looks the same as last year. The new features just aren't doing it for me. Even though I haven't been the biggest fan of it, they took out the showcase as far as I know, and I'm not a big fan of that. So there's nothing really that compels me to want this game.
And just a quick plug, because I completely forgot about this. If you're listening on Thursday, September 29th, I'm actually going to be streaming tonight, or maybe you missed it, for the kids at twitch.tv/extralifepr. Extra Life PR on Twitch. Why am I bringing this up? Because I'm going to be playing 2 hours of WWF No Mercy. And part of the things that I'm going to be talking about there is going to be like, even though this is an old game and I still dig it, there's so many reasons why these things are still great. So while I want to punch Keith in the face, twitch.tv/extralifepr, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. 8 p.m. Eastern Time is when I start.
Now that there is a wrestling video game. No Mercy. Greatest of all time. Socko.
Break it.
Yes, God, I love that game. You know, if there is
You're a little too good at that, by the way.
Right. If there is any game developer out there that is thinking about making a wrestling video game, just give us No Mercy story mode again. Just, I want it so
There's
bad.
There's been a couple that have said, and I won't get to it.
Okay. So thank you for the question. Our next one comes in from Cynical Justin, who asks, where do you think Bray Wyatt would be now if he ended the streak of Brock Lesnar?
That is a hell of a question.
Yeah, right? Yes, I think he would be in a much better position. First of all, shout out to Cynical Cypher. Check out his YouTube channel. He's got a lot of good stuff. He would be straight up main eventer, because they wouldn't give it to, if they were going to have him end the streak, they wouldn't let him fall down the card ever. And that's kind of the burden of who ends the streak, because they have to remain relevant, because that's 20 years of effort that you can't just throw away. And Brock Lesnar was kind of like a fail-safe option. Yeah, if Bray Wyatt had ended it, I think he would be a bona fide main eventer, would already be multi-time champion by now at the rate they're giving away titles, and in a much better position in his career.
For Bray, I think that if he did end the streak instead of Lesnar, SmackDown would be a show about him. Like what we saw with Randy, we would be seeing at the very first week, where it is who can finally dethrone the Wyatt family, because not only would that happen, they would have changed the draft so all of the Wyatt family would be in one show. And it would have been a similar outcome to like either the Nexus or any kind of stable where they take the different championships. So I don't think it would only benefit Bray Wyatt if he had beaten the streak. We'd be seeing possibly Luke Harper as your IC champion, which wouldn't be the first time, and things like that.
You know, this question made me start thinking about the list of people that Bray Wyatt has feuded with, and you could almost fill in that same slot as Brock Lesnar. Like, what kind of position would Bray Wyatt be in right now if he actually beat John Cena? If he actually beat The Undertaker himself during their multiple matches just once?
That happened. Wow, right.
It's just, Bray Wyatt, man. It's the biggest bummer. I hate it.
Yeah, it's really just the biggest misstep. One of the worst bookings of a potential just megastar.
Going into WrestleMania 30, Bray Wyatt was my favorite superstar on the roster. Those promos he did, that whole thing with John Cena leading up to it, it was awesome. And now Bray Wyatt, I can't stand him.
Tank with a Ferrari engine, man.
Oh, God damn it. Thank you for the question.
We need to give some more positivity. Give us something good. What's up?
Well, our next question comes from Kane Yo-Yo, and he asks, since the New Day has a cereal, should Jericho get his own brand of energy drink? Drink it in, man. Jericho Mango Explosion. Think about it.
Drink it in, Keith.
It has to be called Jericho Juice, right? Like, let's be real here.
That's a little questionable, but didn't JBL have his own drink for a while?
Mama Joanna?
Oh, right.
It have all that weird stuff in it, like horny goat weed and all that. Like, have you heard of that?
What?
I don't know about the
Mama
ingredients
Joanna,
of Mama Joanna. But Jericho was the official spokesperson for Stacker YJ Stinger at a point. So there's a little bit of energy drink going.
The world's strongest fat burner.
Yeah, all the Stacker 2 days.
Oh yeah,
And
remember
then,
when he wrote
like,
that song about
is
it?
horrible for you.
Chris Jericho wrote a song about Stacker YJ Stinger.
Would it be high in carbs? Would this be like it's called Mango Explosion? Would it be
Shouldn't
loaded
it just
with
be
like
called
40
the
grams
gift
of
of
sugar?
Jericho?
Yeah, I mean it could.
Okay, but Jericho Mango Explosion just sounds so much cooler.
What if
So, yes.
it's like Mang and then in brackets Jarek and then go like
And then you
Mang
put a picture of-
Jericho?
You put a picture of Mang / Haku and they're like,
Oh my god.
Oh, this is a
And then
train
you
wreck.
drink it and bite out a piece of somebody's back.
Oh my god. Okay, we need to
That
find
happened, ladies and gentlemen.
wherever
Look up Mang
these
stories,
wherever the
all right?
rails are. We need to find them and get back on track here because I've lost sight of them completely. So thank you for the question. Our next one comes in from Nick M, who asks, Halloween is a month away. Have any of you ever dressed up as a WWE superstar?
I have. Actually, a couple of years ago, I was Hulk Hogan for Halloween before all the racist stuff went down.
I was gonna get the pitchfork.
Yeah. I'll tweet out a picture later. Although I'm afraid of looking racist. I'm not racist.
We believe you, Ryan. I'm here. Keith is here. Now, I didn't necessarily dress
bring me
up
into
completely, but last year for the launch of 2K16, I did do some face paint as the Damon, Finn Balor. And I enjoyed that a lot. And I just hung out. Like, picture me and Finn Balor face paint. Actually just sat outside of our apartment with my wife. And every car that went by, like, I'm just wearing a polo shirt, some shorts, Finn Balor face paint. And it wasn't even Halloween day. So it was very confusing for people.
It's
I
like
had
the
some fun.
world's saddest Damon just hanging out in the corner.
Yeah, I remember that stream, actually.
Oh, yeah.
And, we don't have any videos of that left, do we? We never
No,
saved
because
the
sadly
bot.
they got corrupted. I kidnapped a banana. No, I kidnapped Moo and held them up with a banana. And I had people on Twitch calling me a murderer because I was holding a toy cow and holding him hostage with a banana. And that is lost forever. Just
Sometimes
think about that.
when I hear sentences like that, I wonder to myself, why?
Because I'm Puerto Rican, man.
I guess
it's the
so.
Puerto Rican thing.
So I've never actually dressed
Then
up.
why don't the Shining Stars have a more interesting gimmick? Why aren't they holding up toy cows with a banana?
Coming soon. Coming soon.
So I don't think I've ever dressed up as anybody for Halloween as far as like WWE superstars go.
You know who you could dress up as? Just like either Tyson Kidd, Jack Swagger, or Fight Night GM Keith M. Poshik.
That is true.
You could do that too.
I could do. Those are options. Cool.
Just think about that.
All right. So thank you for the question. Our next one comes in from Liam V, who asks, will we get an America's Most Hated rap out of Keith for episode 200? The answer is no. Thank you for the question. Our next one comes in, and our final question of the show comes...
At least give us the beast cob.
No. Our next question and final question of the show...
Let's make that a hard maybe, folks.
No, it's a hard no. Homie don't do nothing for free, baby. Our final question of the show...
Patron goal.
Not even a patron goal. So final question of the show comes from Sam H, who asks, you are in lockdown after the spread of a deadly virus. You have to choose one computer game, one food item, and one wrestler's best of DVD highlights to keep you busy. Which do you choose? And let's, for the sake of this argument, say that this virus is the gift of Jericho. It has spread and eradicated human life.
You know, the sad part is I thought this was a really mean question because I interpreted it as it is a DVD highlight thing of that food, that game, and the wrestler. It makes a lot more sense now.
No, not at all. So I don't know how you got that. That's weird.
So we're at a TNA pay-per-view and a deadly virus spreads.
Well, the roof did set on fire one time.
Yes. All right. My computer game would have to be World of Warcraft because...
But, hold on. I'm gonna veto that and give you another option because humanity's been wiped out. It's an online game.
Okay, so play WoW by yourself. Are we discounting that?
No online games.
You can
there's going to be patch updates, and there's so much to do.
But
well, then Ryan, you can do Hearthstone. Oh wait.
Yeah,
or
that
Pokemon
really kind of kills my options.
If humanity's been wiped out, who are you gonna play with? Online games are like the worst idea.
All right, I guess then if we're talking computer games, I'm gonna have to go with The Binding of Isaac,
Good
any
choice.
version of it, because it's randomly generated, so it's always gonna be different every time I play it, and it's a super difficult game, so I'll have plenty of time to get good at it. As far as food, it's gonna be pizza, because pizza is just amazing, and I'm sure I'll get super sick of it, but at least, you know, you get different toppings and stuff like that, so you get that going for it. And best of DVD highlights, I'd have to go with CM Punk. I mean, CM Punk was one of my favorite wrestlers ever. He's had a ton of amazing matches and a ton of amazing promos.
Let's see here. For me, answer number one for games would be Final Fantasy Tactics, my favorite game of all time. I've beaten it over 5 times completely on PSP and PS1, different platforms. If I wanted to be really sick, I just do Left 4 Dead 2. And just like, hey, not only am I alone, I'm just going to like play by myself in a zombie outbreak. Regarding food, hamburgers. Usually I would say like pasta or something, but if I'm by myself, I want something I can just grab. So if I have to run away or something, I can easily keep eating as I'm running, although that seems like it would go wrong. And then for best of, Eddie Guerrero. Eddie Guerrero is one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. I've watched his multiple DVDs on many occasions on the network. And yeah, I just get a bunch of his matches. You know, obviously Halloween Havoc with Rey Mysterio, his ladder match. I mean, so many awesome things. So yeah, Eddie.
As far as computer games go, I'm going to have to go with Diablo 2 because just infinite replayability and just tons of different ideas, and it works offline. So,
good choice, yeah.
As far as food goes, I'm going to say probably one of the best choices would be peanut butter because it would take the less to fill you up.
Just peanut butter?
Yeah.
For the rest of your life.
Scoop of peanut butter. It's the
that
apocalypse.
Sounds like it would go wrong.
It's the apocalypse.
Dude, you're going to be taking the worst dumps.
Dookies, man.
Man, if the world has ended, my poops are going to be the least of my concerns.
They're going to be everywhere. Everywhere.
And as far as best, or like a best of highlight DVD, I would have to honestly go with Triple H. Because if you were to sit down and make a list of like great matches and who was in them, Triple H would probably have one of the longest lists or be involved in one of the longest lists of matches. And there's just like a completely like broad range of different matches he's been in. Like there's been the Cactus Jack match where there's been like crazy hardcore street fights. There's been the matches with The Undertaker. There's been matches with Shawn Michaels, just this huge, like vast range of different matches and different types that Triple H has been in. You'd never get bored. You wouldn't be stuck with one style. It's a solid pick.
Super interesting, like completely different choices for the wrestler, which goes to show, right? Like there's the thing is longevity. I remember I got the Hell in a Cell compilation DVD. Really bad choice because when you only watch Hell in a Cell matches, it gets really hard to watch after a while. But with a wrestler, if they're creative enough and they have different opponents that, you know, do have these clash of styles, it's awesome. You can never get enough of that. So thanks to everybody for all the awesome questions. Remember, social media is the best way to do most of those things. We do have the website, bytethat.com, where you can get all that. Been wanting to say that because I should say that, so I stole that from you for a week, Ryan. But there's a bunch of other things that I could talk. But what better way to end the show than with Ryan just letting it out there. He's just going to whip out all the information for you.
I'm just letting all the information hang out there, Michael. So thank you guys for listening to another edition of the
Information
Byte
out
That
for Harambe.
Yes, the Byte That podcast. Head over to our YouTube channel, especially this Friday, where me and Keith will be talking about what WWE superstars are like Game of Thrones characters. So if you're a fan of the show, you'll definitely want to check that out. There is a spoiler warning for that, but we warn you in the video as well, so don't worry. We'll have a video up this weekend. Of course, No Mercy is already going to be coming up in 2 weeks, so look for No Mercy predictions next week. So that'll be exciting because the SmackDown pay-per-view is shaping up to be, turns out it's going to be pretty good. So I'm excited for that. If you want to interact with us on social media, head over to bytethat.com, because that is every avenue in which you'd ever like to communicate with us. And if you want to go the extra mile in supporting us, head over to patreon.com, where we have goals and perks that you can get just for supporting us, including early access to 2 videos this week. We give you early access to at least 1 video every single week. You get to see it before anyone else, as well as we try and get your direct feedback, and that gets directly involved in the videos that we make. So that's some really cool stuff. So thank you guys for watching. We will see you next week, and I can't wait for episode 200. That America's Most Hated rep is going to be amazing.
So good.
See you guys next week.
Oh, you're going to be so disappointed.